Are you in communication with Trump? Do you guys speak often or no?
I couldn't tell you if I did.
No, I'm not even talking about.
I talk to a lot of people in confidence about this, but maybe more to the point, I'm very public. I mean, the presentation at Bitcoin Nashville that I had like 1 million views, and the presentations I've uploaded, the keynote I put up last week is like 500,000 views online. So everybody in the industry knows what I think.
Nah, that's a difference, because there is that, and then there is the conversation where, if there's a relationship for somebody to be in someone's ear. For example, Musk is in there, they're doing things together, right? So what is that organization that they build? Is called DOGE, right? Department of Governmental Efficiency, if I'm not mistaken, something like that, right? So how did that come about? Well, it's probably because Musk is in Trump's ear, and Trump is always looking for smart people around him that are giving ideas. I'm asking the question because I'm wondering if somebody like you is in his ear.
Well, he's got a lot of smart people around him, and I'm talking to all those people.
Okay, so then, in other words, the answer is directly or indirectly, yes, is kind of what it looks like.
I would say that.
Okay, I like that. I'll take that. I mean, however the audience wants to process it, they can. In regards to when you see companies like BlackRock, them getting into it, you getting into it. When BlackRock got into it, it was a market shift. It was almost like a level of validation where the market's like, wait a minute, who got into it? A critic? Somebody that wasn't for it? They're flipping? They're not buying? Yeah, we were wrong about it and we're doing this, right? How many of these stories that are public, again, I'm not talking private stories, how many of these stories are public, Michael, that people who were fully against it are now coming around and saying, no, we have to add this to our portfolio?
I think Larry Fink of BlackRock is by far the most compelling spokesperson for the Bitcoin movement, and he kind of epitomizes the intellectual journey, which is a successful financier first hears about it and hears about all the negative things, and good financiers, they go through this checklist of what are the 100 risk factors, right? Because if you're really good at finance, you can tick off all 100 risk factors. So you do the check, you think about it, and you think, well, kind of scary, I'm going to hold off on it for a bit, and you're skeptical. I was skeptical in 2013. He was skeptical. But at some point, if you're around it enough, if there's a need, if you have a need to know, maybe you get pushed and you realize I need to open my mind and I need to embrace a new idea, find a new idea for growth. Maybe it's defensive, maybe it's a growth initiative. And then sometimes when a critical mass of people that you respect begin to speak with you about it, then you open your mind and then you take the position that this is actually a new, profound, revolutionary thing. It's digital capital. I misunderstood it before. I was wrong. I see a place for it in the world. We have this saying, which is everybody's against Bitcoin before they're for it. Everybody is against Bitcoin before they're for it. And so, yeah, it's not unique. It's pretty common. It's like 1 hour to denier. After 10 hours, you're a trader. It's like, well, it's an asset. I'll buy it cheap and sell it when it's too expensive. After 100 hours, you start to move to be more of an investor. Like maybe this is a good investment, like Apple or Facebook. And after 1,000 hours, you're a maximalist. You're like, actually, this is an ethical good. This is freedom and economic and property rights to 8 billion people. This is a chance for 400 million companies to capitalize on an asset which isn't toxic. Wouldn't it be great if you could just buy something and get richer forever without taking risk? Pretty profound idea. And so I think
you'd have to buy in and you'd have to be patient. And those are two things that are very hard because the American people, the investor, flips very quickly and they change their mind very quickly. And that's why the buy and hold concept. Remember back in the days, the mutual fund by American Funds, Investment Company Act, whatever of 1934. Yeah. I don't know if you remember that. And it would say, if you were with us since the fund started, just type in Investment Company Act of 1934. If you would have started with us since 1934, we would have been at, 12.5%.
Right. Okay.
And it would say, but if you missed the top 5 best days, you're at 8%. If you miss the top 20 best days, remember that whole thing?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
That's the challenge, right? The buy and hold discipline.
You can't trade it.
How do you teach that? Michael, how do you teach the discipline of buy and hold. Do you think there must be conviction for somebody to fully buy into the buy and hold?
Every day for the past 4.5 years, I get up and I say, buy Bitcoin, and then you do not sell your Bitcoin. Right? Very simple mantras. And by the way, and I don't recommend anything else. There's 100,000 other investment ideas where it might be appropriate to sell them at some point. That's why I don't talk about them. I just talk about Bitcoin, and I say, if you're going to buy it, be prepared to hold it more than 4 years. The short period is 4 years. The mid period is 10 years. The right period is forever. Buy it so you can give it to your grandchildren so your family will be rich in 250 years. That's what I would say about Bitcoin. And, Patrick, when you look at generations, when you're in your 20s, you have a lot of time on your hands and you want respect and you want prosperity. You want to make it in life. Mm-hmm. I need to make money so I can buy a house, have a family, buy a car, do whatever I want. And so you take your time and you invest it in making money. That's why the millennials, the Gen Zs, they get crypto, they get Bitcoin because they have 100 hours or 200 hours or 1,000 hours. Now, when you get in your 60s or 70s, 80s, how many people, past the age of 55 spend 100 hours studying a profoundly new investment idea to figure out?
Very rarely.
It's because you've already made it. You already got a family. If you're going to have kids and a family and a house and a whatever, you've already done it. And you did it by exercising your trade because you were good at something and you're confident, and that's your worldview, like Warren Buffett's worldview, et cetera. So I don't blame people. It's just when you're successful at the end of your life, you know what made you successful. You don't have a need to know. When you're at the beginning of your life, you're not successful. You've got no respect. You've got no future. You better find something new, right? That's why Led Zeppelin, they picked up electric guitars and they played rock and roll because Beethoven and Mozart had already done the other thing. Too late for that new thing, right? The new people get the new thing. And so occasionally you find a 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old who will embrace the new idea, but it's like, what is it? You have to be profoundly, intellectually curious. Larry Fink is. That's why BlackRock is going to make a fortune on this. Or you have to be desperate, frustrated, nothing to lose. I mean, the truth is I'd characterize myself that way in 2020. It's like the stock is like $6 a share enterprise value. The company's enterprise value is $6 a share. And my choice is sell the company and retire or take a risk and open my mind. And I remember I'm sitting at my poolside next to my friend Eric Weiss, and it's March and the lockdowns hit and interest rates go to zero and, and the stock market's crashing and, and all hell is breaking loose. And I say, so tell me about that Bitcoin thing again. It's like, so that's what you'll find that when, you look at people and they're one or the other, but it takes a while for a paradigm shift. You got to really need it or want it. And that's why it's an exponential process.
So you're sitting there in 2020 and he said, tell me about that Bitcoin again with Eric Weiss.
Yeah.
And then from the moment he told you, what was your step process of researching? Was it an all-nighter till 4 o'clock in the morning? You sat up, you're like, I can't believe this is what's going on. Were you calling friends? Were you doing research? What was your process?
I said, give me the top influencers on the internet on Bitcoin. You gave me a list of people. Then I went and I watched all their YouTube podcasts. Then I went and I read all their books. I read the Bitcoin Standard. I read Andreas Antonopoulos' books on Bitcoin. I watched the debates, between Eric Voorhees and Peter Schiff on Bitcoin. And once I got through all that and I had done a deep think, then I started going in execution mode. How do I get an account? How do I buy this stuff? KYC me, set me up. And then after that, it's like massive education with my company too. Partly it was a personal track. What am I going to do? And partly is, what am I going to take my company? And that became, I sent a text message to all the officers of the company and all the directors. I said, I want you to watch these 3 videos on YouTube, and I want you to read this paper about Bitcoin. John Pfeffer had wrote a paper, An Institutional Investor's View of Bitcoin. I said, read this stuff and then we're going to talk. And so after they read it, I had a one-on-one with each one of them, and it was like basically doing the rounds, every officer of the company, every director of the company, and gradually we formed a consensus. We formed teams. We started to power forward.
And then you presented it to the clients. Hey, here's what we're thinking about doing. This is the direction we're going. Is that what the next move was?
It takes from March all the way to August 10th of 2020. And on August 10th of 2020, what we did is we said, hey, we're buying $250 million of Bitcoin, but we're also going to buy back $250 million of our stock in a tender offer. The stock was like $120. This is like $12 post-split. And we offered a premium. We said, well, you can tender your shares if you don't like the Bitcoin strategy. And so that took 20 days. So the way that we actually rotated the shareholder base and got the shareholders on board with the Bitcoin strategy was we said, we're doing this. We know it's risky. We know some of you may not like it. We'll buy you out at a premium if you don't want to go along for the ride. After 20 days, only about $60 million got tendered. So we had $175 million of cash left. And so we went from 250 to 425 million in Bitcoin. Then the stock rallied, generated a lot more cash from stock option issuance. We bought another $50 million of Bitcoin. And pretty soon we're off to the races and the strategy's working. And all of our investors are on the board. They wanted to be invested in a company on a Bitcoin strategy more than they wanted to be invested in a company that was going to continue with a conventional low growth approach.
I don't know if you see it or not, but a lot of big moves are being made in business right now, specifically since Trump won the election. Musk's net worth just crossed $300 billion. MicroStrategy CEO Michael Saylor, who just pulled up right now to the building, I'm about to do a podcast with him, just announced today, you ready? He bought $4.6 billion of Bitcoin today. You think he's making a statement? Everything right now, behind closed doors, people know the next 4 years is going to go quickly. You either capitalize or you're going to be left behind your next 5, 10, 15 moves. In 2020, when Biden became a president, everybody was panicking. We had a major meeting, identified our next 15 moves. We knew what we wanted to do the next 4 years between 2020 and 2024. We capitalized off of it. Tomorrow night, Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm hosting a free webinar to share with you what we did and what we're doing now between 2024 and 2028. If you want to join us, go to vtwebinar.com. VT, like Valuetainment, vtwebinar.com. Register. I'll see you there. It's limited to only 5,000, so get registered.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.